Welcome back, America. You are watching The Tom Sense Show, coming to you right now, where we pull back the curtain on the globalist circus and bring you the unfiltered truth. This is the place where you run the show too. Go ahead and drop your questions in the chat on YouTube or over on X right now. I will be scanning them throughout the hour, and I only answer the ones with real substance, so make them count. We have a massive show lined up, from high-stakes international showdowns to absolute madness on the borders, so let us get straight to the news. We start tonight in Europe, where the high and mighty elites in France just got a massive reality check. The Constitutional Council, which is their highest court, has completely struck down a landmark law that was supposed to take effect on the 1st of September. This law was a blanket ban on children under 15 years old accessing social media platforms. But the council ruled that this broad ban is unnecessary, inappropriate, and a disproportionate restriction on the freedom of expression and communication for minors. Now, the court did acknowledge that we need to protect kids from online risks, but they pointed out that this lazy piece of legislation did not bother to distinguish between different platform functions, nor did it set up actual privacy protections for age verification. In response, President Emmanuel Macron had to quickly scramble, directing his Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, to start drafting a brand new, legally robust version of the bill that actually complies with their own laws and European regulations. Meanwhile, tech policy think tanks are absolutely thrilled, arguing that these blanket bans just compromise everyone's privacy with rushed, messy verification systems. Let us be honest here. If European governments spent half as much time protecting their physical borders from actual intruders as they do trying to police the internet for 15-year-olds, they might actually have functioning countries left to govern. Next up, we have an update on the story we brought you earlier regarding the trade tensions in South America. Colombian President Abelardo de la Espriella has officially reached out to President Donald Trump, begging him to temporarily pause those newly increased tariffs on Colombian goods. The two leaders had a friendly 10-minute phone call on Saturday, where de la Espriella pleaded for relief. He explained that his nation is dealing with extremely difficult and apocalyptic economic challenges right now. As we reported, the Trump administration recently raised tariffs on many Colombian products from 10% to 12.5% under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, pointing directly to serious concerns over forced labor. Now, Colombia is also dealing with the aftermath of a devastating 7.4 magnitude earthquake that struck on the 10th of August, killing 294 people, injuring over 3,900, and destroying nearly 13,000 homes in western cities like Cali and Pereira. Appreciate you watching and weighing in. Avinoam Cohen DM 8QZ in the YouTube chat. To answer your question about whether the president is going to change his mind on these tariffs, we do not know yet. The White House has not made any official announcement on whether they will pause them. But let us be very clear about why we are even having this conversation. First, we have to respect the loss of life here. This was a massive earthquake. Nearly 300 people died, and thousands are hurt. That is a tragedy, plain and simple, and we do not play politics with that. But on the policy side, President Trump put these tariffs in place because of major concerns over forced labor in Colombia. Think about the logic of this request. The Colombian government is asking us to suspend tariffs that were put there to punish forced labor just because they had a natural disaster. If we follow that logic to its end, it means we only care about human rights when the weather is nice. If you are against forced labor on Monday, you cannot suddenly decide it is fine on Tuesday because the ground shook. We want to help Colombia recover, but you do not reward bad labor practices to do it. Good stuff. Now, where were we? You are absolutely right. Avinoam Cohen DM 8QZ in the YouTube chat. When we are talking about 294 people dead and thousands more injured, the human cost is devastating. We do not play politics with tragedy. But the reality is that the United States government has a duty to American workers, and those tariffs were put in place because of serious concerns over forced labor. You can care about the victims of a natural disaster and still stand firm on protecting our own economy from unfair trade practices. The two issues are separate. Great one. Let's move on. Because of this massive human tragedy and the loss of life, we are keeping things straight and factual. President Donald Trump did express his deepest condolences to the Colombian leader during their phone call on Saturday. But as of this broadcast, the White House has not issued an official response to the request to pause the trade levies. We will keep you updated as this situation develops. Turning now to the war in Europe, where we witnessed a massive escalation overnight. Ukraine has launched one of its largest coordinated aerial attacks since the conflict began, sending hundreds of long-range drones deep into Russian territory. The Russian Ministry of Defense claims its air defenses shot down 822 Ukrainian drones. However, the mayor of Moscow, Sergei Sobyanin, reported that 600 of those drones targeted the capital region alone. The strikes turned deadly, killing an 83-year-old man in the Moscow suburbs and sparking a massive, raging fire at a major online retail warehouse in the town of Podolsk. Down in the southwestern Rostov region, the local governor, Yuri Slyusar, confirmed that separate drone strikes killed 5 people across 3 different towns. In immediate retaliation, Russian forces launched their own heavy wave of ballistic missiles and drones at several Ukrainian cities, including Kryvyi Rih and Sumy, killing at least 3 people and leaving dozens more injured. The sheer scale and reach of this conflict is spilling over borders, as a Spanish North Atlantic Treaty Organization fighter jet was forced to shoot down a stray drone over Romanian airspace near the Ukrainian border. With so many innocent lives lost on both sides of this escalating conflict overnight, we are reporting these facts soberly. This devastating cycle of violence only highlights the urgent need for strong leadership to bring both sides to the negotiating table and finally end this war. Moving to the Middle East, a massive diplomatic storm is brewing between Iran and Qatar. The Iranian regime is officially demanding that Qatar release 3 military pilots they claim are being held in Qatari custody. General Mohammad Bagherzadeh of the Iranian Armed Forces sent a formal letter to the Red Cross, claiming that pilots Javad Salehi, Abdolmajid Dashtian, and Omran Behraveshian were captured alive after their Soviet-designed fighter jets crashed in Qatari territory during combat missions back in March. But Qatar is not playing along with Tehran's narrative. The Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Majid al-Ansari, completely denied the claims. He stated that the Iranian pilots violated Qatari airspace, ignored repeated radio contacts, and that search teams only ever found the physical remains of 1 deceased pilot. That has not stopped the Iranian Revolutionary Guards from escalating the feud, demanding that Qatar let an expert Iranian team into the country to nose around the crash sites. They are accusing Qatar of delaying the truth. This is a massive headache for the region, especially since Qatar hosts a major United States airbase and acts as a key mediator. It is hilarious to watch Iran demand transparency and search rights in another sovereign country. If Iran is so deeply concerned about foreign military officials violating airspace and refusing to answer radio calls, perhaps they should start by looking at their own daily operations. Speaking of Iran, we have the latest now on their ongoing standoff with Washington. The Iranian parliament has scheduled a virtual session to debate new laws aimed at tightening their military grip on the strategic Strait of Hormuz. This is a direct, public challenge to President Donald Trump. Their National Security and Foreign Policy Committee is reviewing what they call a smart management plan for the waterway, alongside another bill aimed at fighting foreign interference. This sudden rush of lawmaking comes after senior Iranian officials publicly mocked Donald Trump for his recent statement that he would soon annex the Strait as a United States territory. Iranian politicians called that goal a delusion, and their foreign ministry spokesperson, Esmail Baghaei, announced they have already finalized a joint shipping route map with Oman to assert their control. This is the ultimate case of posturing from a regime that is shaking in its boots. They are playing tough with virtual meetings and shipping maps, but let us look at the plain reality. Iran can write all the fancy bills and draw all the colorful maps they want, but the moment they try to block that strait, they will quickly realize that international waters are governed by the United States Navy, not by a virtual committee meeting in Tehran. Finally, we turn to North Africa, where the ongoing border crisis just had another major flashpoint. Moroccan security forces successfully blocked a massive, coordinated attempt by hundreds of illegal migrants to storm the border into the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. According to local officials in the Fnidek region, intensive security patrols were deployed on Saturday, stopping a crowd of about 300 migrants, mostly from sub-Saharan African nations, from rushing the border crossing. This comes after authorities in Ceuta rolled out a 9-point plan to tighten health and environmental controls because of a previous surge in illegal crossings. Thanks to the heavy security presence, the border remained under control and running normally, but the tension is incredibly high. Spain is now almost entirely dependent on Morocco to act as a physical buffer to keep people from flooding into European territory. Think about the irony here. European liberals love to lecture the world about open borders and human rights, but the moment 300 migrants actually show up at their doorstep, they run straight to the Moroccan military to do the heavy lifting for them. It turns out that when it is their own backyard on the line, even the most progressive European politicians suddenly understand the beautiful, common-sense value of a very strong border wall. That is the news for this hour, but we are far from done. The floor is now officially yours. I am looking at the chat right now, so send in your questions on X and YouTube, and let us get into what is on your mind tonight. I am looking at the screen and I see Shlomopearl4946 over in the YouTube chat asking, when will the war start? Shlomi, my friend, look around. If you are waiting for a formal invitation with fancy trumpets and a signed piece of paper, you are missing the whole show. The plain truth is we are already in the middle of it. It is an economic war, a cultural war, and a border war every single day. And the people running the show in Washington have been surrendering our side without a fight for years. We do not need to wait for a start date because we are already fighting to get our own country back. I see Shlomopearl4946 over in the YouTube chat asking with Iran. Shlomi, I do not have the latest intelligence briefings in front of me right now, but here is what everyone with eyes can see. We have an administration in Washington that thinks you can stop a bully by writing them a check. If you apply that logic all the way, we should be sending car thieves a down payment on a new sedan to keep them off the streets. It is the same old story. When Donald Trump was in office, those guys were broke and quiet. Now they are funded and bold. It does not take a foreign policy genius to see what changed. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Good night.